So the first thing, whenever our troopers make a traffic stop, we want your drivers to pull over where it's safe. Sometimes we'll have the driver follow us down to an area where it's safe to get off the roadway. Sometimes they'll pull up beside, motion for them to go down. Sometimes they'll walk up and say, hey, follow me. But we want to get off the roadway because we're going to be walking around the vehicle quite a bit. So that's the first thing, is safety for the company, their driver, and safety for our officers. So we'll have them a lot of times move on down. We're going to make contact with the driver. We're going to tell them, hey, you've been stopped for a DOT inspection. We need to see your driver's license. We're going to ask for that first. So you got your driver's license on you, ma'am? Yes. Okay. And the driver can go ahead and unbuckle because we're going to be there for a little while. They can go ahead and buckle, get comfortable. Like I said, this is a DOT inspection. It doesn't mean they did anything wrong. Check and make sure it's a commercial driver's license. Is it the correct type of license for the vehicle they're driving? In this case, they're going to need a Class A CDL. We're going to take a look at that. We're also going to ask the driver where they're coming from and where they're going. The reason we ask that question is that determines whether that's interstate or intrastate. Laws are going to apply to that situation. Of course, intrastate meaning we're staying inside the state of Texas, interstate meaning we're crossing state lines. So there's going to be a weight of 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating or 26,000. It's going to be a determining factor whether that vehicle is regulated or not, whether intrastate versus interstate. Next thing we're going to do is ask a lot of times for the manifest. What are you carrying? Is the vehicle loaded? We're going to ask for that manifest, take a look at the weight. If we suspect the vehicle might be overweight, we may ask for a permit. If the vehicle needs a permit, it's good to have that permit handy. Remember, when we walk up to a vehicle, we ask the company to have all that paperwork nice. Because what does that say when the paperwork's in a nice order? That means the company cares about what they're doing. When the paperwork's scattered throughout the truck, stuffed in the visor, underneath the seat, they hand you a permit that looks like the dog chewed on it. What does that tell the CVE trooper? Company's probably not keeping up with their stuff, right? Not taking care of their business. It's just like your kids turning in homework. Does it look like it's nice and neat, or does it look like they threw it together the night before? Same thing applies here. So we're going to take a look at that paperwork. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to give instructions to the driver. Say, all right, we're going to do a level 2 inspection. I need you to follow my hand signals. We're going to tell them, hey, when I go thumbs up, that's going to be bright lights. Direction I point, get your turn signals. This is your flashers. When I go like that, step on your brake. We're going to have the driver go ahead and start the truck up. There's your driver's license back. Okay, bright lights, turn signal, flashers, brake. Okay, go ahead and roll your window down for me. Okay, we'll step around to the front. Have them check their bright lights. Brights. Left. Flashers. Okay. Walk back here. Windshield wipers. Washer fluid. Remember to have your windshield wipers working and washer fluid. That's a very common violation. A lot of people say it's a feather-legged or chicken violation, but it is absolutely necessary. If your driver can't see out the windshield, can they see what's coming at them? Make sure they carry that washer fluid in there. Make sure they're checking that when they get out, when they're filling up with diesel. Hey, just top it off. It's a simple way to maintain safety and avoid a violation. Because remember, every violation you get puts points against the company's profile. Those points add up over time. The higher that profile score, the more it's going to cost you in your insurance, because that's what your insurance company's looking at. That's what other companies are looking at when they hire you. Do you have a good safety score? So keep that in mind. You want to avoid all violations that you can avoid. We're going to start right. Yep, we're going to start right here. We're going to take a look at the tires. He's checking all the lug nuts right here. A lot of times in the oil field, those lug nuts get loose, especially on the back axles where you see it the most. You can get those indicators. A lot of times you'll see them, they're green, orange, yellow. They'll see them, they'll put them on the lug nuts. They're all facing out. That way if one's turned, that means you have a loose lug nut. It's a good safety tool. Keep your drivers safe with those wheels. The company's name and DOT number have to be displayed on the vehicle, both left and right sides. You have to have a fuel cap. You cannot be leaking any fuel. If you're leaking fuel, that's an automatic out of service violation. You can go ahead and shut it off. Right here, he's checking the hoses. You cannot splice any of your air hoses. That's something that's a common violation. That's, hey, we're out here in the oil field, we damage a hose. Now we're going to jerry rig it. We're going to take a small little piece of hose, stick it in there, take 2 hose clamps, clamp it together, and tape it up, and let's get down the road and hope DOT doesn't see it. Let's not do that. That's an out of service violation. You cannot splice these hoses. If you got a damaged hose, you need to replace it. Also make sure that pigtail is plugged in. Make sure you have no leaks here at the glad hands. Whenever your drivers are doing their pre-trip in the morning, have them step on the brake. Go ahead and step on the brake, driver. No air leaks, you hear that? Now if it's whistling like a choo-choo train, what does that tell you? You got an air leak somewhere. So keep that in mind. A lot of times that's something that's not done in a pre-trip inspection. They check the lights, and then sometimes we'll check to make sure we have fire extinguisher and triangles, which we'll get to later. But many times they never step on the brake. They never catch those air leaks. With the truck off, step on that brake and listen. See if you hear those air leaks. So now we're going to check the tires. This is a big important one, especially coming up right now, because what are we coming up on? Summertime. Yep. Well, Blitz too. Yes, that's a good point. That's starting next week. We'll talk about that later. But hey, we're coming up on summertime. When it's nice and hot outside and we have thin tires that have a lot of oil-filled miles on them, what happens? They pop, right? And you see those alligators all down the highway. Let's keep these tires good. Remember, I know tires aren't cheap, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a small price to pay for safety. Let's keep those tires in good shape. We're going to look back here, make sure you have no air lines leaking. Take a look at the brakes. Sometimes we'll see brake chambers wired up. Man, come on, I know things break in the oil field, but if they break out there, they need to be fixed out there before they get back up on the roadway. We can't take baling wire and wire up a brake chamber. He's going to take a look here at the 5th wheel, make sure there's no cracks. Then we're going to come around to the back. So right here, if you look at your mud flaps, you have to have your DOT reflective tape back here on the back of the truck. Now it can be right here on the mud flap hangers, it can be across the back right here, but it's got to have the lower, and then it also has to have the upper. If you'll see the upper, that's going to be the upside down L's that you see right there. The white goes on the cab, red and white goes back here. Okay, driver, go and look in the mirror. Go and watch this trooper right here. So we're going to check the lights again. Yep, and yep. Do what, sir? Yeah, go right ahead.
Hey, just to let you all know, as you saw right now, Sergeant Blanco was talking, and I fell right on in. Every trooper is trained the same. Okay, so it doesn't matter what troop you get. The only difference is that some troops, like myself, I like to identify that driver. So I will not jump right into an inspection. Okay, I will ID the driver first, and then I'll come up and do exactly what we're doing right here. So when you get stopped by a troop, just this is the system that they're going to do. Okay, this is how we're taught. Okay, so you could pull me out right now and put Trooper Moya in, and he'll continue right on in. Go to the other side, pull Trooper Moya out, put the corporal in, and it's going to continue to the same pattern. Okay, so as you're watching us today, it's not going to change, especially out there. Okay. All right. So
yeah. So you know, like he was saying, some troopers may take the driver's license, come back and run it. Some will jump right in, but the process of the inspection is exactly the same. We're going to look right here. Make sure you have your tape. It has to have 50% coverage. Now obviously they run it all the way down, so we have 100%. Also you need your side marker lights. All your lights have to be working. Now we get a question about lights a lot. If I add lights to my truck, do those lights have to be working? And the answer is no. You can make this thing look like a Christmas tree, but the lights that are required from the factory, the lights that are required by DOT regulations have to be working. You have to have your 3 at the top, those are your ID lamps. You have to have your 2 outside, those are your clearance. And then coming down the side, you have to have your side markers, your front, middle, and rear. Now obviously they have additional lights, but the front, middle, rear have to be working. Any questions so far? All right, we're gonna keep on moving. So he's gonna check the frame of the trailer. That's a big one that we see a lot, especially on your low boys, stuff that's hauling like forklifts, big heavy equipment. It's out there getting beat on those lease roads, and then it starts getting frame damage. Take a look at your frames. We've seen frames that are cracked. We've seen cross members cracked. Crawl under there, take a look at it occasionally. When I say occasionally, I mean when you're doing your pre-trip. Get under there, take a look at that frame. He's gonna check your tires. And here he goes again, back to the lug nuts. When we're down here, we're also looking at the wheels. Take a look at the wheels, make sure there's no cracks. A lot of times on your older trailers that have been out there, shared around lots of companies, or they're out there at the locations, they're sitting out there for a long time, then they get picked up and brought back in, especially like your frac trailers. Make sure there's no cracks. A lot of times the cracks will go from vent to vent. And it's very important on the wheels because we had a freak accident occur in Dawson County 2 weeks ago. A truck tractor was passing a deputy that had stopped another commercial motor vehicle. The entire wheel assembly, both duals, broke free from that truck, bounced, hit the vehicle he had stopped, bounced off and hit him, killed him. Now you might be thinking, what are the odds of that? I don't know. Deputy? Killed the deputy, yes sir. But we do see this. I've worked 2 crashes come to memory where the duals or steer axle, complete wheel assembly, hub assembly has failed. So once again, what does that drive back to? Maintenance. Comes back to maintenance. And that was an over-the-road truck. That wasn't an oil field truck. That was an over-the-road truck. So it's not just oil field. You can't just knock the oil field. That maintenance applies to all commercial motor vehicles. So we're going to come back around to the back again. At the back of the truck, I'm going to take a look. He's going to check the lights again. So back here, you have your ID lamps again. You need your 3 here, your license plate light. Obviously, he saw him check for turn signals, flashers, and brake lights. Now, when your turn signals are out, is that an out of service violation? Absolutely. That's a big safety violation because the motorists behind you don't know if you're turning. And we work so many crashes with turning movements involved. And a lot of times that becomes what folks say is a he said, she said incident. They said they had the turn signal on. The other person says they didn't see it. When we come out there and we check it and that turn signal's not working, guess what? There you go. Also, you got to have mud flaps back here. Now, mud flaps are required on the back of the trailer. Mud flaps are not required up here at the front on the tractor, but back here they are required. And that also applies to your pickups. Your dually pickups have to have mud flaps. So if you got a dually pickup and you're running around without mud flaps, you need to stick some on there, all right? Okay, we're coming around. Oh yes, reflective DOT tape has to be 100% across the rear. Now it can be 50% on the sides where they'll take a piece of tape, put one, they'll skip, put another one, skip, put another one, that's fine. This truck has it 100% along the side, but you're allowed to skip on the sides. On the back, it has to come completely across the rear, like you see right here. Yes, sir?
Y'all check the ABS lights.
as soon as you walk by. Yeah, if it's lit up, we're going to come back up there and we're going to take a look at the brakes. Now that ABS light is required. That's a good question. A lot of times you'll see it punched out and not replaced. So right here's the ABS light here. Sometimes there'll be a bigger light right here depending on the manufacturer of the trailer. A lot of times drivers will use that light to fix another light. We don't need to be doing that. And we ask them, hey, where's your ABS light? Well, I used it to fix another light. We don't need to be doing that, okay? All right.
What are the tape requirements on the top of the trailer?
Up at the top, you need your reflective DOT tape up there also, just like you see up here.
Red and white is okay?
Yes, red and white's fine.
It does. But when they hold it for a new one, it doesn't have to be white.
So he's going to come back around again. He's going to check the tires again. When we're looking at our tires, when you got those empty trailers or heavy trailers and you got to lock down, that driver's got to lock down for an emergency, what happens to that tire? It gets a flat spot on it a lot, right? If that ABS isn't working properly, or you've got a really heavy load, or sometimes you're completely empty and it starts skipping, it'll put flat spots on that tire and you'll see them. And then that flat spot will start to wear out and you'll start seeing the tread and the cord coming through. That needs to be replaced, it needs to be fixed. That's one of the big ones we see out here, especially in the oil field, where those lease roads beat those tires up, chew them up. You'll start seeing patches of cord. That's going to be a violation. When we're coming around, we're also checking underneath, making sure that the suspension is all connected, making sure everything's good. We're not seeing anything cracked or broken. We're checking those lug nuts again. Everything we did on that side, we're doing on this side of the truck. We're moving forward. You got your reflective DOT tape again, checking those lights. Same thing again on your tires. Now most of your trucks out there are not this clean, right? This truck is super clean. Trump company did an excellent job. Out there in the field, these trucks are coming out, they got caliche on them, they got mud on them. We're having to work around that. To your drivers, get these trucks washed, because mud, dirt, grime, what does it cover up? Cover up violations, right? And cover up lights, and cover up reflective tape. What does that also say to DOT? You don't take care of your stuff. Once again, if I'm driving down the road and I see a nice clean truck like this, and I see one that's covered in dirt, beat up, which one am I going to stop? Yeah, exactly. It's coming back around. You're going to take a look, make sure you got your reflective tape. Going to take a look at the exhaust system. Now this exhaust system's coming out and venting down and away from the truck. Of course, on some of your trucks, you'll have them coming up. On the ones that are coming up, you'll see a lot of times out there in the oil field, once again, roads beat these trucks. The cab will start slamming. As the air suspension on the cab goes out, it starts to crush that exhaust, especially on your older trucks. And you'll see that exhaust tube get crushed, separated. You cannot have any exhaust leaks underneath the cab. So if you got a crushed up tube and it's exhausting underneath, you got a violation. Once again, we're going to check that DOT number and company name is on both left and right sides of the truck. He's coming back around, checking tires, checking lug nuts. And another big one we see, you got to have a front bumper, guys. Yeah, you would think, hey, front bumper, not common sense. Once again, large parts of the industry, hard on trucks, and they make repairs out in the field. You'll see parts of bumpers missing. You'll see a bumper wired up. You'll have this much of a bumper in the middle and nothing around the sides. There's a lot that you see, especially with your sand haulers. Guys, those trucks are out there all the time. They don't want to pull them off the road because the more loads they run, the more money they make. Same with your belly dumps a lot of times. The more they're out there running, your water haulers too, the more they're out there running, the more loads they're running, the more money they're making that company. We've got to shut down for safety. I'll say that again, we have to shut down for safety. We got to keep these trucks maintained. If they're always out on the road, that means they're not coming in to get checked. And we know a lot of times drivers do what? Pencil whip pre-trips. So as a company, as safety men and women, we have to be sure that our drivers are maintaining those safety logs, they're actually doing them, and that things that need to be fixed are getting fixed. All right, we'll continue. We're gonna come around, we're gonna ask the driver to open up the hood. Now, when we're asking them to open up the hood, we're also making sure they have latches to secure the hood. The hood has to be secured down. All right.
9 times out of 10, we will not help you with the hood. Okay? We will not, because it has been proven in the past that a troop had helped. The hood fell off. Guess who got charged? The troop.
Yeah.
Okay, so some troops will, depending on how the driver is. Okay, we could get that feel for drivers. We've been doing it long enough that we could feel that, okay, that driver's pretty cool. Okay, so we'll help them out, or a female, maybe a smaller female or something will help. But 9 times out of 10, ladies and gentlemen, we will not help. We will stand there and watch you. Okay, so don't think we're being, tough guy or whatever. No, we're not. It's just like that.
Okay. All right, we'll have the driver step up. Driver, go ahead and climb back up for me. Go ahead and turn the truck on, and go ahead and turn the wheel to the left. You can go ahead and roll. Yep, there you got your window down. So we'll keep the driver's window down so we can communicate with the driver. All right, go ahead and turn the wheel to the left. I don't have a chalk. You want to mark? Okay, so what he's going to do is he's going to mark the push rod. He's going to take a measurement. It's already marked? Okay. So he's going to have the driver step on the brake. He's going to take a measurement of that push rod. There's different types of brakes. You have type 20, 24, that's what you're going to normally see on the front. In the back, you're going to see type 30s. Excuse me. In the regulations, there are certain measurement requirements for those push rods, depending on the type of brake. That's what we're measuring. If it's out of adjustment, it's going to say that brake is no longer working, or it's not making proper adjustment. You have half adjustment, half out, and full out. So he's going to take a measurement, and we're going to verify that that brake is working. We're going to have the driver press and hold the brake. Go ahead and press and hold your brake. Okay. And we're going to record that measurement. In this case, it was an inch. It's going to be within. He's good to go.
Do the same on the other side.
We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, driver, go ahead and turn your wheel to the right. So we're going to have the driver turn their wheel. The reason we're having them turn the wheel is to check the steering. We're also going to make sure that tire does not make contact with any steering components or the frame. If it does, that's a violation. A lot of times you'll see areas where that tire is rubbed up and it's polished. It's polished the paint off of the steering component or the frame. When we see that, that lets us know right away, hey, we got to check that. Also, we're going to make sure the pitman arm right there, that pitman arm is not loose. You're going to check for movement on it. Depending on which way that pitman arm is attached, we'll mark it with chalk and take a look at it. We're also going to check that power steering pump. Is there leaks there? Now, sometimes you don't have a leak until you start turning that wheel, and you'll see it start squirting out fluid once you put pressure on that system. And what we'll do is we'll do the other side too, the same thing he did there. We're not going to go over there right now, but that's what he's going to do. Okay, driver. You going to check low air warning?
I was.
Okay. So he's going to ask the driver to check their low air warning. That's a big common violation we see. We ask drivers to check their low air warning, and they look at you like, does that mean they're doing a proper pre-trip inspection? No. Okay. So what he did there was he had the driver pump the brakes. You got to pump the brakes down to get the air pressure down, to make sure that low air warning comes on. It's going to be a light and a buzzer. Now, If it has to be a light there. Now, if the buzzer's not there, remember it this way. You can have a deaf truck driver, but you cannot have a blind truck driver, right? Okay. He's going to check the steering. Make sure you got good steering. Make sure there's no steering wheel lash. What I mean by steering wheel lash is you've seen that steering wheel where you got to turn and turn and turn to get the wheel to move what? About that far. What does that tell you? Steering's out. You missing anything else?
Well, I would, if she was interested, I'd check her e-log.
Okay. We'll go ahead and turn the wheel off. Or turn the truck off, excuse me. What he was saying was, depending on what her hours of service requirements are, whether she's across road, short haul exemption versus long haul. Does she need an e-log? What time did she start work or stop work? Remember, you have a 14-hour window to get to and from your yard when you're working underneath the oil field exemption. That short haul, 150 air miles. You have 14. Used to be 12. DOT regulations gave you an extra 2 hours. Now you've got to start and stop within that time period, and you got to go to and from the yard. Now you can't start in Monahans, claim a yard in Monahans, and stop in Big Spring, and now Big Spring's my yard for the night. Doesn't work that way. You got to go back to where you came from. Okay? I'm missing.
150-mile radius, does that include, like, if your yard is here in Monahans, does that include 150-mile radius, even if it goes into New Mexico, even if it goes to another state?
Yeah, you get 150 miles, 150-mile radius. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Anything else I'm missing?
Fire extinguisher, triangles.
Yep. Yep, fire extinguisher, triangles, and spare fuses. Now, we talk about fire extinguisher and triangles. When we walk up there and we ask the driver where your fire extinguisher and triangles is, we get usually 1, 2, or 3 explanations. 1, they know where they are. 2, this isn't my truck. What does that mean? This means I didn't do a pre-trip. That means I jumped in this thing and left the yard today. Or 3, I'm looking for it. And what does that mean? I didn't do a pre-trip. When it takes you the entire time for me to type out an inspection report to find your fire extinguisher, is that reasonable? No. It means you're not doing your pre-trip. It means your truck is burning on the side of the road. It means it's taking you that long to set up your triangles when your truck breaks down. That's not safety. Those drivers, that's a telltale sign of whether that pre-trip's being done or whether they've been trained to do a pre-trip properly. Fire extinguisher, triangles, and low air warning. When they don't know what a low air warning is, that means nobody's trained them how to do a proper pre-trip, or they're not doing it. Keep that in mind. It's just a telltale sign. Anything, ladies and gentlemen?
Annual inspections.
Yep. You want to jump on that, or?
Annual inspections. A lot of these have stickers on them. Have annual inspection, or at least in the book or something. With the right truck and trailer. I mean, we'll get different VINs and all this other stuff. I think that, and then also, I don't know, the wheels, make sure they got oil in them. It's getting hot and losing wheels and stuff. I think that's another one that we see a lot. Inner wheel seal leaks. Those are pretty big, especially on water haulers and belly dumps. But
remember, on your wheel seal leaks, if that wheel seal's leaking, you got a violation. If that wheel seal's leaking and it contaminates the brake, contaminates the front brake, you got out of service. Remember, the front axle's held to a higher standard than the back. Anything here, boom, front axle out of service. Going back to that inspection, remember, the state of Texas got rid of state inspection for your personal vehicles. That does not apply to commercial motor vehicles. So you no longer have to get your personal vehicles inspected. That applies to your pickups, your trailers, horse trailers, RVs, your regular trailer hauling around your four-wheelers. Those no longer have to be inspected. This right here still applies. This applies because this is underneath the US DOT regulations. this is still required to have an annual inspection done. So don't let that confuse you, and don't let people tell you, hey, these don't have to have it anymore as long as they stay in Texas. Wrong. That is not true. So just keep that in mind.
On the safety side of it, let's make sure your drivers, I know we get in there a lot and they have their cell phones or they have tablets, and a lot of it's for their ELDs, but I'll catch them with either a TV screen on or, you know, music, something with videos and stuff like that. 1 second is all it takes to take your eyes off the road and get in the crash. So don't be operating the mobile devices. That's main safety is going to be your driver. I mean, they're controlling this vehicle. So if they're not paying attention to what they're doing on the roadway because they're looking at their phone or reaching for something in the cab, you know, something they're not supposed to be doing, that's where your crashes are going to come in.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Remember, the oil field gets around by what? Pin drops. That's how the oil field gets around. Just get your pin drops before you get on the roadway. Don't set your pin drops up while you're headed down the road. If you've got to receive another pin drop, hey, my job's been canceled in Andrews, now I have to go to Stanton. Here comes a new pin drop. Let's stop, pull all the way off the road. Don't just stop on the yellow and white mustard mayo line right there. Let's get all the way off the road, get your pin drop, set it up, and let's get going again.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been all over, like, social media and everything about having to speak English. Is that a requirement now, or is it just...
Yes, so that's a good question. I've gotten probably 30 phone calls in the past week about this, and there's a lot going on. Okay, first off, the department has not issued any guidance yet. Our commercial vehicle enforcement lieutenant, Kelly McClatchy, went to a meeting. There's still some stuff being hashed out about that. But yes, President Trump did sign an executive order mandating English. That has always been in the regulations. That has not changed. Now, previous administrations have done different interpretations on how to do enforcement on that. The President Obama administration kind of relaxed the laws on that. President Trump administration's putting it back into effect, but it's always been on the books.
It's going to be hard to tell what the requirements are because used to when you took your CDL test, they only gave it in English. So you knew they were conversing in English is bad. But now, who knows what's going to come out.
Yeah, so we don't have exactly a full set of guidelines on that, but yes, it is going into effect. Yes, we're waiting on it, some interpretations on how it's going to be put into the out of service manual. So we're still, just hold on that. We're still waiting on that. Yes, sir.
Wasn't there an endorsement, M, as long as you stayed within certain miles of the border and just transported?
K restriction.
K restriction. Yeah, so those vehicles staying within, what is it, 20 miles? 50? 50? Okay, staying within 50 miles of the border. Yeah, and then and they're returning back across. Yeah, that's a good question. Remember, we deal with such a large variation of laws when it comes to U.S. DOT regulations. Here in the Permian Basin, our guys are mostly focused on the oil industry. You go down to the border, you're going to see a lot of that cross international traffic. You go out east, you're going to see your log haulers. So remember, we're dealing with the oil field industry here, but there's a lot of information out there to know. And so if your company is dealing with stuff in East Texas versus South Texas versus the border, you know, stay up to speed on what regulations you're falling under. Keep in mind.
Can you explain a little bit on the license from Mexico and Canada here in the United States?
So on the driver's license, first off, there's no such thing as an international driver's license. So if somebody goes and brings you a driver's license that says international driver's license, and wherever they bought that at, whatever they paid for it, it is no good. The only driver's licenses that are valid from outside the United States, from outside the 50 states of the United States, inside the United States, are Mexico and Canada CDLs. Now, Mexico CDLs, they have to have a valid work permit to be here. They have to have that work visa. If they do not have it, you have an out of service. Now remember, something we saw a lot, and we still do see, You have a driver who is domiciled, meaning they live here in Texas. They have a Texas Class C non-CDL license or a Texas ID card. Meaning that I have a house in Odessa, this is where I live, I have a Texas ID or Class C driver's license, so because I live here. But I have a Mexico CDL because for whatever reason I can't get a Texas CDL. Either I can't speak English, can't write English, can't pass the test, whatever it may be, so I go to Mexico to get a Mexico CDL. Wrong. That does not work. You have to have a CDL from where you are domiciled. You're domiciled here in Texas, you have to have a Texas CDL. You cannot hold a Mexico CDL while being domiciled here in Texas with a Texas ID card or a Texas Class C driver's license. That is an out of service right there. Yes, sir.
If a driver doesn't pass the speaking English and all that,
Mm-hmm.
is the truck and the driver placed out of service right there where he's at, and you have to go out and get your truck and driver, or can they let him go?
We're still waiting on that. We don't have a firm set of guidance yet on how that's going to be.
It'd just be the driver anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be just the driver anyway. You're going to have to send out.
There's nobody in there to drive the truck.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, you can send out another driver. Are we going to tow it? Are we not going to tow it? What are we going to do? We're still waiting on guidance. So that's what I meant by that.
And more to that, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is if that driver is legit, okay, like Sergeant Blanco said about the driver's license and everything, and he's legit, but he just don't speak no English, we'll pull somebody in that speaks Spanish just to verify that everything is good to go. And if he is good to go, we're not out there to make life miserable for people. We just want it safe. And so if he's legit on everything, we'll probably just continue on with the inspection as of now.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have some guidance out very soon on that. I know that's a big question, and unfortunately nobody wants to hear, please wait, but just kind of please wait on that. We're going to get that taken care of. Yes, sir.
What are you looking for on mirrors and windshields?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, you have to have your mirrors, your windshield. That's a good question. Go ahead. You want to
inside? When I was standing inside, sir, with that damaged windshield, you saw me do the low pressure check. Okay, as I'm standing there, what did you see me looking? I was looking at the windshield for the driver. I would put myself where the driver's at. So now, if he has damage where he could see, that is violation.
Yeah, if
Same
you got
with the mirrors, because you saw me standing there. Of course, I didn't say nothing because Sarge was talking, and I'm not, Sarge, I'm not gonna say nothing. So, but I looked over and I saw the other mirror. Okay, so those checks, we all do them. It's just automatic for us. But yeah, we do check them.
Do you require the mirrors on the hood, or are they optional?
No, we don't require this.
on your damage on your windshield, quarter size and intersecting cracks that are into the driver's view. So keep that in mind. I know rocks are hard on windshields in West Texas, but keep that in mind out there.
It's not just a crack in the view, a single crack, it has to be intersecting?
Unless it goes all the way down or all the way across.
No, say it's 6 inches straight across the middle.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Just one
Anything
other
else?
thing on the drivers, okay? We talked a lot about drivers, okay? You're going to hear this, and we're going to put an end to any kind of myth that you all hear. The drivers dictate how that inspection's going to go, okay? It's 100 degrees out, and I'm pretty comfortable inside my black and white with that AC. Okay? But I know I have to do inspections because of people like this out there, okay? Or people like that over there. All right, so don't let your drivers know. Don't get the attitude that, oh God, yeah, you picked me, da 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 da. In your training, you were taught that you were subject to an inspection at any time. Okay, it's not like we're singling you out. Okay, oh well, there's a truck right there. You might be the only truck on that road. Okay, and we've all been through it. So okay, well, I guess it's your time. Okay, so then when we walk up and you're all, oh, what the hell you pulled me over for? There's other criminals out there, whatever. Now you already dictated this inspection. Okay, all righty. So just say yes, sir. Da 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 da. And let's make it an enjoy either the heat or the cold together, okay? And then we could talk about it 80, 90% of the times we stop, the drivers actually want to learn. They're actually asking questions. Hey, sir, can I do this? Hey, sir, can I do that? Hey, ma'am, can I do this? Okay, let's have that exchange on and make it nice and smooth. 30, 45 minutes for a level 2. You're on your way, sir. Sign here. Validate the inspection. Okay, so just let your drivers know that. Okay, try to. We're seeing a lot of them now. Okay, that they're getting a little bit of an attitude. All right, so just let them know that. That's not going to play to your favor.
Yeah. And remember, if you're operating that vehicle on the roadway, you're subject to the inspection, like he was saying. And also, the one time that comes to mind where when I was on the road, had problems with the driver, he refused to be weighed. If you're operating that vehicle on a public highway, you can be weighed at any time. All right, so when we put the scales out, or we ask you to drive to a scale to be weighed, like, hey, I stop you out on the interstate, follow me to Pinwell, that driver has to follow that officer to Pinwell. He's giving him a lawful order. In that case, he was super loaded. He was mad that day. He was having a bad day. He just didn't want to be weighed, and we ended up talking about it. He got weighed. But just keep in mind that if you're operating that vehicle out there and you're stopped, you can be weighed at any time. Another thing we didn't mention, medical cards. Now, your medical card is on file with your driver's license. Be sure your drivers are keeping up with that. A lot of times when we find out that a driver's license is invalid, that CDL becomes invalid, it's because that medical card has not been updated. Now, when it's invalid and that medical card's not updated, they don't have it with them, not a lot we can do, okay? So be sure as a company, your company representatives, whoever's in charge of that, your safety, compliance, whoever's in charge of that is keeping up with that, because a lot of times these drivers get busy, they don't do that. So make sure you keep that medical card up to date, make sure it's kept up to date with the state that they're from, whether that's Texas, New Mexico, wherever it may be. Anything else?
Just one more thing on the overweight. The stickers have to be affixed to your windshield, otherwise, you can get a ticket for overweight. Also, not on the interstate. Nothing on the interstate. Stay off the interstate.
Yeah, so that's a 1547 overweight, over axle permit. That's what she's referring to. That's not valid on the interstate. So keep that in mind. Has to be affixed to the windshield, and on that permit paper, it's going to have a list of the counties that permit is valid in. So Andrews, Ward, Ector. Now, if you go get that permit in Travis County, and you're working out in Travis County hauling rocks in the Bear, Travis County area, now you come out here to do a job and you get stopped in Ector County and Ector County is not listed on there, guess what? The permit's no longer valid. You go back to state law. 80,000 pounds, 34,000 on your drives, on your duals, 20,000 on the front, or tire rating, whatever it may be. It's going to take you back to state law.